Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon or this evening. Thank you for giving up your Thursday night. And I just want to welcome everybody to today's hearing workshop, where we're going to discuss the topic of brain hearing, how exercise, sleep, stress, and nutrition impacts the brain. So my name is Melissa Taylor. As I said, I'm an audiologist and co-owner of the Next Gen Hearing Clinic here in South Surrey. Here we go. Let me just make sure I get the next slide. One moment. Here we go. There we go. There's our speakers. So I'm Melissa Taylor. I'm an audiologist and co-owner of the Next Gen Hearing Clinic here in South Surrey. And I'm delighted to be joined here once again with Jen Casey, who's a nutritionist from Nature's Fare. And I'd like to thank Nature's Fare for hosting us today. Now, just like we said, there's a chat box in the corner of the screen. So if you'd like to ask any questions as we go, please do. Jen is kindly going to do her best to answer the questions whilst I'm speaking, and then I'm going to support her in her talk after me. So we are going to take you on a journey to discover the brain-changing benefits of exercise, how good sleep hygiene can optimize cognitive performance, the positive and negative effects of stress on brain performance, and how feeding your brain the right nutrients can help to optimize brain function and improve overall brain health. So that sounds pretty good to me. Now, you might wonder why, as an audiologist, I might be interested in how the brain functions, and more importantly, like what we do to influence it and improve it. Well, I'm interested in how we hear. And we hear with our brain. Contrary to what most people think, it's not just our ears. It's actually a brain process. It's an active process which requires us to pay attention. And if we break down the hearing brain, we can identify 4 key substations. So that would be orient, separate, focus, and recognize. Now, the orient system always comes first. So in order to hear, we scan the sounds around us, no matter their nature or direction, and to create a full perspective of the sound source. So from here, we can then separate out the sounds to put them in their place. For example, if you think about how we hear, we're able to identify where a sound is coming from, not by where we see it in its place, but also where we hear it. So you can identify if something's coming from your right side, on your left side, if someone's coming up from behind you. From there, we then focus on the sounds that we want to listen to. So we may want to switch our attention from one sound to another, or just focus our attention on one thing when there's lots of different sounds that may be trying to catch our attention. And we then use the brain to filter out unwanted sounds and sounds that may be somewhat irrelevant. Finally, we recognize sound. Now, this is a stage where the brain pulls together all its resources to integrate information from other inputs. So we use what we've learned to understand to create meaning to what we hear. For example, you could listen to a song which triggers a memory, or you might hear a voice and know by the sound of their voice where in the country they are from based on previously stored information in your brain. So let's look at what happens when you have hearing loss. Well, with hearing loss, the hair cells in your ears are less stimulated, and the nerves will send fewer nerve impulses or signals to your brain. So your brain only gets part of the information. Now, as you can imagine, it takes more effort to listen to a sound which is degraded. You have to pay more attention to fill in the blanks, use contextual information to guess, or perhaps use visual cues to tell whether someone said pick or bick. And studies have shown that when your brain is working hard to decode what others are saying, your brain doesn't store the information in your memory as well as if you were listening with ease. And that's because your brain is too preoccupied doing other tasks. And all of this contributes to the brain's cognitive load increasing. So with increasing load, we have decreasing energy, as our resources are more likely to get depleted. And as we see on the graph here, people with normal hearing will have more energy for the entire day, whereas people with hearing loss their energy will deplete through the course of the day because they have to put a lot more mental energy into listening. Now, what we know of the importance of the brain function is with hearing and with hearing loss, so we know kind of what that is about. Let's delve into what we can do to improve it. So first, I'd like to discuss the effect of exercise on the brain. So exercise has amazing brain-changing effects to the brain's anatomy, physiology, and function. And studies have shown that there's an immediate increase in levels of neurotransmitters which enhance our mood, our energy, and our attention. And in fact, studies have shown really fascinatingly that one single workout can improve your attention span for up to 2 hours. And researchers believe that exercise can contribute to better neural function in the cochlea. And there is a theory that people who have a higher level of fitness may have decreased auditory damage from noise exposure, that type of thing. But we're still in that exploratory stage. Now, exercise even has protective effects on the brain from things like cognitive decline. And this makes sense when you consider someone who doesn't exercise. They're likely to have poorly oxygenated blood, maybe higher sugar levels, and all of this will affect how well our organs function. Now, as adults, we should do some type of physical exercise every day, and any type of activity will be good for you. And the more we can do, the better, but it's important to sort of work within your fitness levels. So now we're going to look at sleep. We know sleep is an important time for the brain. We spend about 1/3 of our lives sleeping, and it has incredible restorative functions on the mind. Now, there are 4 stages of sleep, but they're considered to be 2 main types. So we call it non-rapid eye movement and rapid eye movement. And during the earliest phase of sleep, non-REM sleep, you're still relatively awake, you're somewhat alert, your brain is just starting to slow down, your heartbeat, your eye movements, and your breathing will slow down, your body's starting to relax, your muscles may even twitch. And it's during this transition into deeper sleep that you may experience strange and vivid sensations, like you're falling or something like that. And it's this brief period of sleep lasts around 5 to 10 minutes. Now, another stage of sleep is called the non-REM stage 2. And according to the American Sleep Foundation, people spend approximately 50% of their total sleep in non-REM stage 2. It lasts for about 20 minutes per cycle. And this is the time when you're less aware of your surroundings, your body temperature starts to drop, your eye movements stop, your breathing and your heart rate becomes more regular. And then finally, we have the third stage of sleep. The third stage of sleep, I should say, acts as a transitional period between light sleep and very deep sleep. So people become less responsive during this stage. Any noises or activities in the environment may fail to wake you. And during stage 3, your muscles are completely relaxed, your blood pressure's dropped, and your breathing slows down. You progress into the deepest sleep. And literature shows that getting enough non-REM stage 3 sleep allows you to feel refreshed the next day. So finally, REM sleep. So we've been talking about non-REM stage 1, 2, and 3. This is stage 4, which is our REM sleep. And this begins approximately 90 minutes after falling asleep. And it's at this time your brain lights up with activity, your body's relaxed and immobilized, your breathing is faster and irregular, your eyes move rapidly. This is where we dream, and this is a really important step in our sleep cycle for memory consolidation. So often we dream about things that maybe happened in the day, and it's kind of our brain's way of filing things into our memory. Now, I'd also like to clarify that we don't move through all 4 stages in sequence. So we're starting in stage 1, we might move to stage 2, and then 3, and then back to 2, to 3, to 2, to 3, and then finally to 4. So it's not in complete sequence as you might expect. Now, there's increasing evidence that all stages of sleep enhance most types of cognitive function. And I think that really should come as no surprise to us that sleep has an impact on our cognitive function, particularly if you're not getting enough of it. So the graph here shows the results of a really comprehensive online survey whereby participants filled in details of their sleeping habits, and they took part in 12 different cognitive tests. Now, if you look at the curves, they're like an inverted U shape, and basically that means that either too much sleep or even too little sleep will actually have a negative effect on your cognitive ability. And so performance in cognitive tasks will decline if you get too much or too little. And therefore, we can adduce that there is actually an optimum amount of sleep required for a regular day, and that's between 7 and 8 hours. And I certainly know I like to get my full 8 hours in. Now, unfortunately, sleep deficiency is a really common public health problem, and the Center of Disease Control and Prevention estimated about 7 to 19% of adults reported not getting enough sleep. And without sleep, the brain struggles to function properly. We don't have time to recuperate. Neurons become overworked, they're less capable of optimal performance, and this lack of sleep results in delayed thinking, reaction time, and even risk of forming false memories. So we can see how important sleep is for our brain. And the ways in which we can optimize our sleep, there's 4 main things that I've learned through sleep hygiene, and that's consistent sleep and wake times. What we tend to do if we've had a bad night, we couldn't sleep, we tend to lie in. But it's really important to actually still continue to get up at the same time as you would normally, to teach your body clock that there's certain sleep times and wake times. Another thing is not to eat or drink before going to sleep, anything that might then stimulate our body into action, or doing anything that's really brain stimulating before we go to bed. It's really useful not to look at your phone or computer screen or TV, things that will sort of keep our brain sort of sparking through the night. And also exercise is a big thing. Exercise, as we said, is a big way to stimulate our body. And so we really don't want to be doing exercise right before we're trying to fall asleep. Okay. So we're now going to look at the effects of stress and anxiety on the brain. So firstly, I just want to clarify what we mean by stress. So we often think of stress as a very negative aspect of life. For example, when I think of stress, I think of being overwhelmed or unable to cope. However, stress can actually have a positive impact on us, and it's kind of our body's a response to being sort of stimulated, and when the brain starts to perceive some kind of stress, it floods our bodies with chemicals like cortisol, and this boosts our energy, which enables us to accomplish tasks more efficiently. And certainly I know a lot of people who are more productive when they've got a time pressure on doing something, whereas if something's long-term in the future, they're not so motivated to do something to try and achieve that target in advance. Now, stress, as you can see, like sleep, has that inverted U shape, meaning that too much or too little of stress can actually impact our performance and our cognitive performance. And it does also mean that our brain can thrive under moderate levels of stress, but actually it does depend on the task. So studies have actually shown more intuitive and emotional tasks and actually benefit from stress, yet thoughtful, cold calculations, working memory tasks are better without stress. Now, what can we do to optimize our stress? Well, a lot of the lifestyle factors I mentioned to you before will actually help improve stress, like our sleep and exercise. And something that we're going to come on to, which will be our biggest topic for tonight, is diet. And these help you to be better equipped to manage stress. And another big one is a good social network. So social network has been demonstrated to mitigate the effects of high stress on the brain. And I would also say that it's really important, if you are feeling like you're overwhelmed and overstressed, you do want to seek professional help. It actually really does make a difference to control our stress levels and teaches you techniques to stay calm under high pressure situations. So we're moving very quickly this evening. We're going to sort of move on to our next topic in a moment, which is the final topic of today, which I'm really excited about. And we're going to talk about healthier eating, how important this actually comes as we age. It's important for mental acuteness, boosting your energy levels and increasing your resistance to illness, and how eating well can also be the key to a positive outlook and staying emotionally balanced. Improving your diet can really help us live longer and stronger and sharpen our minds and feel better. And I'm not the specialist on this subject. We have Jen Casey here, and I'm really excited to hear her pass on her wisdom. So Jen, I'm going to cancel out my slide presentation, and then we can open the floor to you. Great.
Wonderful. Thanks, Melissa, and welcome everybody. So nice to have you join us tonight. As Melissa mentioned, I'm Jen Casey. I am one of the holistic nutritionists at Nature's Fair. So Melissa's been talking about the pillars of health, being exercise and sleep and your response to stress. We can't always take the stress away, but your response to stress is what really matters. And the fourth pillar is what I'm here to talk about, which is nutrition. So you might be wondering how nutrition plays a role in brain health, and I'm going to share some information with you. So let me get my slides happening here. All right, so I call it smart eating. These are the effects of nutrition on the brain that we're going to go over today. So we'll talk a little bit about how nutrition relates to brain health, some vitamins and herbs that improve brain health, superfoods that feed the brain, risk factors. So there are some foods that interfere with your brain health. It's not just what you eat, but what you avoid is really important as well. We'll talk a little bit about lifestyle that interferes with brain health, which Melissa covered quite a bit of already, and some brain boosting meal and snack ideas, just to kind of tie it all together to give you some things to think about. So how does nutrition relate to brain health? Well, if you kind of think of your body as a car, we'll just use that analogy. A car needs gasoline or fuel to run. Some cars are electric now, so we have to go with that. But a car needs fuel of any kind to run. And so does your brain. And when it comes to your brain, this fuel comes in the form of food. And interestingly, the brain actually requires 10 times more nutritional needs. The brain has 10 times more nutritional needs than any other organ of the body. So that's an interesting fact. And it really kind of goes to show you that what we eat can really optimize our brain's performance just by including the proper ingredients. And again, as I mentioned, avoiding certain ones. So you can imagine you might have had this experience where you've skipped a meal and your brain is foggy, you are confused, lightheaded, you might have a headache, you have no energy, you just want to fall asleep. What's actually happening is that your brain has run out of fuel. So when we eat, our liver and all of our wonderful functions break down the food, but our brain essentially uses it to send chemical messengers to other parts of our body, to send messages and to make our body function and work. These are called neurotransmitters. So without fuel or without food, your brain is not able to send messages to the rest of your body. And this can affect your mental focus and your motor control and your digestion and your sleep patterns, your concentration, your insulin levels, really, really important for all kinds of different functions in the body and more. So certain lifestyle, dietary, and hereditary factors can deplete our brain cells over time. This is just life. But the good news is that a lot of these cells are renewable in many parts of our brain, and we have the power to feed them the right nutrients to get them working optimally for us. So this includes blood flow to the brain. This includes foods that will help reduce inflammation, because some foods promote inflammation in the body, which we'll get into a little bit. Some foods are healing. Some foods literally feed the brain. Our brain is made mostly of fat. And so we need these neurotransmitters to send messages to the rest of our body to work. So the bottom line is, by paying attention to what we eat, we can modify our brain's function to serve us better. And here's how. So we know that vitamins and herbs can improve brain health. So we're going to focus here on the B vitamins to start. B12 and B9 particularly work together to form the myelin sheath and keep the homocysteine levels, which is an amino acid in the blood, at a good level to lower the risk of dementia, brain shrinkage, stroke, and heart attacks. And a deficiency is linked to deteriorating brain health, dementia, memory problems, and nervous system damage. So because the B vitamins work together, often you'll see a B complex, because there are several B vitamins and they all work really well together. They work better together. You want to be sure to include a diet rich in dietary green leafy vegetables, which are a really high source of that B9 vitamin. Egg yolk is a great source. Beef, chicken, dairy, and salmon is a great source of B12. B12, you might, if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, B12 is a vitamin that you might find that you're deficient in, because we only get it from animal sources. So a plant-based source of B12 would be nutritional yeast, which is a kind of a cheesy, nutty protein that a lot of vegetarians will use to get their B12. Some foods are optimized with it, or you can take a B complex vitamin. The next important nutrient that helps to nourish our brain and improve brain health are antioxidants. Now, these come in the form of vitamins A, C, and E. Also, CoQ10, some of you might already be taking that as a supplement. Manganese, selenium, and zinc. These are all antioxidants. So what they do is they protect from free radicals, and free radicals break down our cells. And these come from environmental toxins, lifestyle, diet, a diet high in sugar, processed foods, cigarette smoke, alcohol, a lot of different things in the environment that we don't have control over, or that we do have control over, like pesticides on foods and things like that. Whatever we're putting, whatever goes into our body can break down our cells and affect our DNA. So antioxidants help to boost your immune system and protect you from these free radicals that are breaking us down and causing aging in the end. So antioxidants, when it comes to brain health, prevent damage and toxicity to brain tissue. Vitamin C, for example, which you're going to get from a lot of these vegetables that you see on the screen. You think of vitamin C just in oranges, but in citrus fruits, but there's lots of vitamin C in dark green leafy vegetables, red bell peppers, tomatoes, anything really, really colorful, like eating the rainbow here is a really great example of ways that you can get in all of your antioxidants. So if you feel like you're missing something from your diet, supplements are a fabulous way to get in those extra nutrients. So vitamin C is one that we don't absorb in the body, or we don't store it, sorry. It's one that we have to take on a daily basis or eat on a daily basis. So vitamin C supplements or dietary vitamin C helps to improve mood, really helps to boost our immune system, and support our adrenals. So as Melissa mentioned, stress is something that can really affect our brain health. So when you're stressed, you're depleted in vitamin C. So that's where you want to really boost that particular vitamin. Vitamin E is another antioxidant that helps to protect the brain's white matter, which is where our nerve fibers are protected by that myelin sheath that I spoke about earlier. The myelin sheath is a protective fatty substance that wraps around our nerve fibers, which helps to increase the communication between our brain and our nerves. So really, really important there. And the vitamin E helps to protect the white matter there. So we can make antioxidants ourselves as well in our body, but this depends on other nutrients in our diet. So that is another reason to make sure that you're eating a big variety of fresh fruits and vegetables. Eat the rainbow, absolutely, and some balanced meals. That CoQ10, that coenzyme Q10, is an antioxidant that can be helpful at the first signs of cognitive decline because it naturally declines with age. Our CoQ10 declines with age. Clearly, I need some today. It is involved in the production of energy in our brain cells. So that's where we're going to get that. It's like the engine of a car, right? If we're still using that analogy, that energy production that is in our brain cells comes from this antioxidant. So it also helps to protect our brain from damage. So it's often prescribed for Parkinson's. There are dietary sources like organ meats, like liver. Cauliflower and broccoli are great sources. Fish, beans, nuts, and seeds. So those are things that you can easily add into your diet at any meal. Vitamin D3 is another one that is excellent for brain health. So this is sometimes known not only as the sunshine vitamin, but also as the anti-aging vitamin. It regulates 1,000 genes in our body, including the telomeres that protect our DNA. It's sort of like the little end of a shoelace, that kind of plasticky end there that protects the end of the shoelace. That's our telomeres, and that protect our DNA structure. The receptors for vitamin D are found throughout the brain. So a deficiency in D is linked to dementia and Alzheimer's. It's not technically a vitamin, it's actually a hormone. It's hormone dependent on sunshine. So even staying out in the sunshine every day for just 20 minutes of unprotected sun, which is sometimes a little bit difficult and can be a little bit dangerous, but it's that sort of unprotected sun that you want to get in order for you to produce vitamin D yourself in your body. If not, a daily supplement of vitamin D is just fine. It really is anti-inflammatory. So as Melissa mentioned earlier, a lot of lifestyle and dietary habits can cause inflammation in the body. So it's really great to focus on as much anti-inflammatory lifestyle and diet as much as possible. And vitamin D helps to reduce that inflammation. It also helps to protect our cells from wear and tear. So if you can't get out in the sun for 20 minutes a day, a supplement is great, or you can also find vitamin D in not too many foods, but egg yolk is a good source, and some fortified foods. You might find orange juice that says on the label, fortified with vitamin D. So look for things like that. If you are going to take a supplement, vitamin D is fat soluble. So you'll want to take it with some food, especially some fat. So maybe a little bit of avocado or some cheese or something that has some fat in it, and that will help your body absorb it better. We also have fish oil and turmeric. Fish oil is a combination of EPA and DHA, two really long names if I said their long form. So I'll spare you that. But these are healthy omega-3 fatty acids that are anti-inflammatory, and they help to form the receptors for those brain transmitters, particularly dopamine and serotonin, those sort of feel-good, happy hormones that we produce. 25% of our brain is made of DHA, and it depends on it to function and repair and make new brain cells. And it's even great for eye health and skin health. Without EPA and DHA, the brain chooses the bad fats in our body, which leads to a more rigid cell membrane. Those with Alzheimer's have lower levels of DHA in the brain, which then leads to memory decline. So at least 500 DHA to 1,000 EPA a day from a supplement like fish oil is really helpful. But if you're eating fish, good fatty fish like salmon, wild salmon, 2 to 3 times a week, there's no need for a supplement. If you're going to get it from your dietary sources, that's even better. Krill oil is another good one. It's a little bit more bioavailable, so your body will absorb it a little bit better. And if you are a vegan, you could do algae oil. So that's a good option as well. Now the turmeric, which is this root you see on the right-hand side, comes in the whole root form, or you can get it in a ground spice form in the spice section at your grocery store at Nature's Fair. And it's fabulous for reducing inflammation. Really great for inflamed joints, arthritis, kind of off topic, but also good for reducing inflammation in the brain. And it is used in cooking for its healing properties for thousands of years. And it benefits not only the brain, but digestive issues as well, sore joints, as I mentioned. So the compounds in turmeric, particularly curcumin, that's the compound, that's the active component of turmeric, helps to boost stem cells in the brain. So about 500 to 1,000 milligrams a day is fabulous if you're doing a supplement. If you're going to do the root in your cooking, you can use it all day long. It's really great in warmed up with milk at night with a little bit of honey in there and some ginger. If you're going to use the powdered form, always remember to do a little crack of black pepper with it. Even if you're drinking it in milk, even if you're using it in cooking, that black pepper is going to make that ground turmeric more bioavailable. It's going to help your body absorb it better. So if you're using the raw root, no need for the black pepper. But if you're using the ground, you want to put just a crack of black pepper in there to help you with the absorption. There are some other wonderful herbs like lion's mane, which is a mushroom. This one's really great for memory and nerve support. Sage is also a wonderful one. You might have some growing in your garden. You can use sage in your cooking, dried or fresh. Either will work. And bacopa is another one that you'll see in a supplement form, usually in the vitamin and supplement section at the store. And it's a herb that significantly improves memory and has those brain protective enzymes. It's called bacopa. So it's a really great one as well. Now, here are some superfoods that feed the brain. We kind of went over those omega-3s already. Those are the healthy fats that you're going to see in nuts and seeds and fish, good fatty fish. The small fish are better because they've had less time in the ocean to absorb all the chemicals and the toxins. So the little guys are really great. Like sardines are fabulous. Wild salmon again. Now these are essential. These contain essential fatty acids, and they're called essential because we don't make them in our own body. We have to get them from our diet. And they're very anti-inflammatory. They keep our skin and our brain healthy. As I mentioned, our brain is made mostly of fat. So really, really important to feed your brain good, healthy fat like olive oil, olives, nuts, avocados, coconut are really great. Those are all really high in those antioxidants that we spoke about. And they're less prone to being damaged like other fats are. So for example, canola oil or some other vegetable oils are not the best choices when it comes to fats or oils. They're a little bit more pro-inflammatory. They'll cause more inflammation than, say, a nice olive oil or an avocado oil. So if you're going to choose oil for cooking, make sure that it's one of those oils. For hot heat, like frying, I would go with a coconut oil. It's going to damage less than an avocado oil. Avocado oil would be a wonderful oil to use on a salad. Or flax. Flax oil is a great one to use on your salad as well. Wonderful source of omegas. So those are important omegas to get in. There's omega-3s and there's omega-6s. The omega-6s make up most of the standard American diet, we call it. You know, you'll find those, they're more pro-inflammatory. You're going to find them in more of those oils I spoke about, corn oil, fried foods, crackers, hydrogenated type products. We want a better ratio of omega 3 to 6. We want to bump up the 3s and reduce the 6s. So just for inflammatory reasons, really. Aiming to eat fish 2 to 3 times a week, use the flax oil, get in a few walnuts a day or sprinkle them on a salad. Pumpkin seeds are really easy to incorporate into your diet. Those are all really great sources of those omegas to fuel your brain. Here are some superfoods that feed the brain. Just to add to the omegas, avocados are a healthy fat that has the highest brain protecting fat than any other fruit. Avocado is actually a fruit, not a vegetable. Fun fact, it's also rich in that antioxidant I spoke of, vitamin E. So if you can get in some avocado a little bit on a daily basis, don't be afraid of fat. This is a good, healthy fat that's going to fuel your brain and give you lots of fiber. Avocados are actually really high in fiber, which is very important for our digestion and just for clearing toxins in general. So you can try adding even just a quarter of an avocado to a smoothie or onto a salad. I like it on toast. So that's an easy way to incorporate it. Yes, you see dark chocolate in there. Aim for at least an 80% or higher cacao. So this isn't a milk chocolate that's just full of sugar. That's not an antioxidant superfood. This is a good dark bitter chocolate, but if you paired that with some blueberries, which are really anti-inflammatory, then that makes for a wonderful snack. So blueberries are another antioxidant, really high in vitamin C. You wouldn't realize it, but they are right up there with oranges, maybe even more so. They really protect against those free radicals that damage our cells and our brain health. And they help to protect us against the accelerated aging of the brain. So studies do show that blueberries improve learning capacity and motor skills. So I like to say, I like an apple a day for health, but I also recommend a cup of blueberries a day, however you can get them in. They're not high on the glycemic index. They're not going to affect your blood sugar like some sweeter fruits would. So if you could get them into your yogurt, put them in a smoothie, they're wonderful on a salad, or pair them with your dark chocolate, they make a really great snack. And it's quite easy to get a cup of blueberries in every day. These lean meats are really great. So meats, they're a really wonderful source of protein that are going to help balance your blood sugar. But aim for meats that don't have the skin. White chicken breast is a really great option. Grass-fed is really, really important. Antibiotic-free. So then you're just reducing or avoiding or eliminating any of those extra free radicals that are going to get in and break our cells down, right? So really important there that you kind of choose organic when you can. Proteins also contain the precursors for those neurotransmitters, those messengers that our brain uses to send signals to the rest of our body. Omega-3 eggs. So we spoke about omega-3 already. You can actually get eggs that are fortified with omega-3s because that's what the chickens ate. So that's a good way to get those extra omega-3s in. Eggs are also great as well. We spoke about them in the vitamin E section, but they also contain choline. Choline makes a neurotransmitter that is responsible for learning and memory. These also help to protect the brain. It contains carotenoids, they're called, that help to protect the brain. So an egg a day is wonderful. Even if you are told that your cholesterol is high, dietary cholesterol in something like eggs is not going to affect your total cholesterol in your body. That is more affected by sugar and insulin. Okay. So there are some foods that affect the brain in a negative way. And you can imagine too much caffeine. Caffeine can actually restrict blood vessels in the brain. Gluten. I have a lovely basket of breads and croissants here. Nothing wrong with these if you're going to eat them in moderation. But if you had a diet high in gluten, gluten can actually bind to our brain receptors and lead to brain fog and other digestion problems. So if you're finding that you have these types of symptoms, then it might be worth looking at gluten. Otherwise, you shouldn't need to avoid gluten. Only when you're starting to feel like you've got some brain fog or you have some aches and pains and you're curious about it. I always kind of suspect gluten in these cases. And sugar, of course. Insulin spikes, as I mentioned, can really affect your cholesterol, can cause insulin resistance over time, leading to diabetes, really affects and contributes to inflammation in the body and the brain. You've probably found over time, if you eat a sugary meal, and sugar doesn't only come in the form of these lovely little white sugar cubes. Sugar comes in the form of, well, it hides in things. It hides in condiments and sauces and dressings, but foods can quickly turn into sugar in our body, and those would include refined carbohydrates. So like white bread, white rice, white flour, white sugar, of course. So having a diet really high in sugar can send us on a blood sugar roller coaster, which really affects our cognitive health, as well as our weight in time. It's not the fat that causes weight gain, it's the sugar that causes weight gain. I tell my clients that all the time. Here are some other factors that can affect the brain. Some medications like statins, which you might be prescribed for high cholesterol, can just lower your CoQ10 levels. Remember, CoQ10 was one of those antioxidants. So just be aware of that and bump up your antioxidant intake through your diet if possible. Smoking, of course. The World Health Organization estimated that 14% of dementia cases are caused by smoking. That is a fact on their website, and I thought that was an interesting one. Of course, hearing loss, as Melissa mentioned, really puts strain on the brain. High stress, trauma, poor sleep, strokes even cause some brain damage and some brain cell death. Of course, free radicals, which we spoke about. And obesity does as well. Obesity is one that we can absolutely control, but it is a risk factor for all chronic diseases, including declining mental health. I have some brain boosting meal ideas that you can maybe jot down. And these are all of the foods that I had mentioned earlier in all of the different categories. You could pair any of these up. So for example, you could do eggs with spinach, mushrooms, and avocado. You could do raspberry chocolate, dark chocolate smoothie with hemp hearts. I didn't mention that earlier, but hemp hearts are a fabulous source of omega-3s. So you could do a smoothie with a little bit of hemp hearts in there as your protein and as your omega-3s with a little bit of coconut milk. You could do a big spinach salad with lean chicken breast, olive oil, and blueberries. You could do salmon a couple times a week with breaded in sort of like an almond crust with crushed almonds. So there you're getting your nuts. And you could do sweet potatoes or baked potatoes with some fresh sage from the garden. And so those are some ideas. Beets are really good for the brain because they're really high in vitamin C. Beans are a fabulous source of fiber that aren't going to spike your blood sugar, so you're not going to affect that that mood mostly. Carrots are a great source of those vitamins. Squash as well, high in vitamin C. There's your bell peppers. So lots of ways here. If you could use the turmeric in your cooking, that's a really great way to get that in as well. So some final thoughts. Create a supplement regimen for yourself if you don't feel like you're getting everything you need from your diet. So remember those important elements for brain health and to reduce inflammation. If you don't feel like you're getting them, like for example, if you're not out in the sunshine much, then maybe a vitamin D supplement is helpful. If you are not a fan of fish, or you are vegan or vegetarian or have an allergy, a fish oil or a flax oil is wonderful as a source of omega-3 fatty acids. Eating the rainbow is really, really important. So a fun challenge that I suggest often is to assign a color of the rainbow to each day of the week, right? So Monday would be red, Tuesday would be orange, Wednesday would be yellow, and so on. So you're working your way through the rainbow, and then by the end of the week, you've definitely eaten a rainbow of foods. So that's sort of a fun way to remember it. Really, really important for brain health is to swap out your sugar and your refined carbohydrates. So those are all of those processed white foods for some healthy fats, some whole grains, lots of veggies, and some lean protein. And focus on the pillars of health. Melissa went over the first three: sleep, exercise, and stress management. I put exercise there twice, but nutrition is the fourth one that's really, really important. And those pillars help your house, if you looked at yourself as a house, to stand up on a nice solid foundation. So those are some things to think about when it comes to brain health there. And Melissa, I'll hand it back over to you.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you so much, Jen. I actually really love the suggestion of the brain boosting meals, and I wrote some of them down, so I'm looking forward to trying some of those. And I really appreciate you being able to do this again, and I wanted to say thank you to Nature's Fair for making this event possible this evening. And thank you to all our guests, and I hope you learned something new, and I hope we've inspired you to think about making some healthier choices. And can encourage us to promote brain health and make some good decisions in our life. And it sometimes is hard. We've been through a rough year, and I know it's taken its toll on our mental health. But yeah, I think these are ways that we can kind of heal ourselves from the inside. So it's nice that we've got those kind of superpowers that we can use. Okay, thank you, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Nice to see you all. All right, take care.